we saw some challenges about, okay, actually building the process, having people following the process, transitioning out of founder-led sales. So I see the sales playbook as really a bridge and a foundation to kind of tackle some of these challenges. So when I was in those roles, and what I've seen working with the founders is when you don't have a sales playbook, there is no direction. So even when you hire salespeople, sure, they can come in and start calling, start emailing, but who are they calling? How often are they calling? What sort of messages? What kind of objections are they going to see, and how are they handling them? So the challenge is that they don't really have any direction. And because it's not documented, then they just keep coming back to you. And you can imagine that is going to be taking up a lot of your valuable time, that you don't have time to just be answering one or two questions every hour because you don't have it documented in a sales playbook. So you want to get everybody on the same page and kind of following the same direction. Another big kind of challenge that I saw an issue was this like misalignment. So if you're let's keep with the SaaS example. So if your, let's say, average contract value is $5,000 to $10,000 a year, and your salesperson comes in and they're comped based on their total sales volume, well, they might want to go after contracts that have six figures because they're going to get a bigger bonus. But that's not aligned with your growth trajectory. And if you don't have that sales playbook to kind of support that and to give them some sort of context on the alignment of where your organization is moving, then you're going to have this misalignment. And that creates probably the worst thing that you can have at an early stage company are missed opportunities. And I'm talking about missed sales opportunities.
Mhm.
So when you have two people or salespeople on your team that aren't all on the same page, they're not going the same direction, they're not aligned with your vision, then you're going to have missed opportunities, whether it's missed follow-ups, missed demos, missed potential partnerships that you could have, and yeah, ultimately missed customers. So it's unfortunate that it happens, but when you do get it right, when we put together a sales playbook that is effective, that reflects your processes that you've been proving out over the past year or a couple years, then really we start looking at this foundation. So now you have a foundation that you can you build your sales playbook, you have a foundation, now you can start scaffolding on top of that. So we'll talk about the 4 steps, but essentially, so you have whatever you have now, and then if you want to add an outbound sales motion, you can add an outbound sales motion because you have this solid inbound sales motion. If you want to go up market, then you can create another chapter element of the sales playbook because you have this mid-market element. Now you're going to go up market. So you're building a foundation so that you can scale and grow on top of that, whether it's people, product, or partnerships or different kind of sales motions.
We have a
The other
quick
awesome
question
thing,
here
yeah,
that
go
I
ahead.
that I want to touch on, and it's from Aditya. So, how do we measure the effectiveness of what's working and what's not when we're actually, building and trying to get our teams to adopt that sales playbook? How do you measure the effectiveness?
So the effectiveness of the actual adoption of the sales process that you're talking
Let's.
about?
I'm not sure exactly. Maybe Aditya, you can give us a little color there. But my assumption is around you build a playbook which
Yep, yep.
tells your salespeople how to do X, Y, and Z. How do you know that sort of list of things that you're getting them to do are effective, especially if you're building for the first time and maybe you don't have a data set of like the team you came from, hundreds of sales reps who have done this over and over and really validated it. So
Yeah.
how do you know it's working?
Yeah. So one of the things we'll talk about, there's kind of two, well, we will talk about that when we're talking about building out the actual sales playbook. But the first thing you want to do is just audit your best practices and audit what's been working for you. You don't really want to document in a sales playbook something that you're guessing might work and then have a salesperson execute that and try and see if it does work. So as a founder, what you want to do is go out there as a leader, prove that some sort of sales motion works, that some sort of sales cadence works, that communication, the messaging works. You document that, that goes in your sales playbook, and you already know that it's effective once you put it into the playbook. And then now it's a matter of having that sales rep execute that effective strategy that you've proved out. So it should be proved out and effective first before it goes into the sales playbook.
Awesome. Thank you.
And yeah, kind of once that happens, once you have these effective processes and messaging and everything else that's in sales playbooks, then you have your reps hitting the ground running. So when they walk into their role, they know who they're calling, how often they're following up, whether you go through a disco or a discovery call and a demo call, or if it's just a discovery call, pass off to an AE, they're really just going to jump into the role and just hit the ground running. And they're going to be ramped up a lot faster, hitting their quota faster and hitting all their activity goals much faster. And then finally, for you as the leader and founder entrepreneur, this is going to give you an incredible amount of confidence in that sales process and also in that sales engine, because ultimately we were talking about founder led sales just really briefly. Ultimately what you want to do is remove yourself from that sales function, remove yourself from the sales engine essentially, and not, you're not completely disconnecting from it, you're staying plugged into it, but you're transitioning out of that founder led sales and giving that sales motion and that sales, those sales tools to your team and letting the team execute it and on your behalf. And you're going to gain a lot more confidence because you know that it's documented, it's in the playbook, and you're able to kind of look at that and assess and evaluate based on the